Hey, g'day. This is Nigel, Collin. Thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be here, even, of course, if only virtually. And like, how ironic is that? Here we are having a series of in-person events throughout regional New South Wales. And I have a client who takes me away elsewhere for a couple of in-person events. But I guess you've got to be really happy with that, because that indicates there is momentum. We're starting to see more and more live events take place, and that has to be a really good thing. I'm coming to you from my hometown of Port Macquarie on the mid-north coast. In fact, behind me, you can see an image of Sales of Port Macquarie, just one of the finest venues in our region. And a couple of weeks ago here in Port, we had a public event, a family fun run, a family marathon, if you like, and it was attended by a couple of thousand people, which is fantastic to see. Blues Fest is moving ahead. In May here, we have the Ironman. So it's really nice to start and see live events starting to take place once again. In fact, over the last couple of weeks, I've attended and been involved in a number of events. And my hope is, as we move forward, that more and more business events will start to occur in regional areas as well. I think that there is a huge opportunity there for us as well. So look, in my short time with you as Chair of Meetings and Events Australia, MIA, I just wanted to give you an overview of who we are, what we do, and also our strategy moving into 2021. And how that fits, of course, I guess, into regional as well. So MIA, if you're not familiar with us, we're the largest association of event professionals. We've been around for over 40 years. We are a national association, but we also, of course, operate in region as well. And our membership, by the way, consists of a range of venues, event coordinators, event producers, event professionals, as well as suppliers to the events and meetings industry as well. So AV companies, for example. And we're really focused largely on education as well. Now, on that note, I just want to give a very special thanks to Destination New South Wales, who sponsor sponsor scholarships into our Diploma of Events Management. So MIA is also an RTO, Registered Training Organisation, and Destination New South Wales are fantastic in supporting us and placing students from regional areas into our program. And this year there were 12 scholarships, 2 from each region. And I was actually on the judging panel this year, and it was really hard because the caliber of submissions was right up there. And I don't say that lightly, and it's a really good thing, by the way, because what it means is, the future of events within regional New South Wales is in really safe hand. The future leaders that are going through are incredible. And it's a shame that, we can only allocate 2 scholarships per region. But honestly, the caliber, the skill base, and I guess maybe more importantly, the passion for region that we saw was just incredible. And again, I think that's really heartening. So thank you very much to Destination New South Wales for making that possible. So let me just give you a snapshot of our strategy with MIA. And to do that, I just quickly want to share my screen. So this here is our strategy. In fact, we call it an events industry recovery plan. And it consists of 3 levels. It's really important moving into 2021 that any strategy is quite agile. Obviously, last year was just a year of insane change that none of us expected and none of us really wanted. And I don't want to vacillate on that because we all went through it. We're all here, we understand. But moving into 2021, obviously there are still challenges ahead of us. But I think there is also some great opportunities. And so each year, MIA sits down and we look at our strategy. And in November, we thought, well, we can do one of 2 things here. We can either just create a strategy and put it out there, or we can step back, take a little bit more time with it, and actually ask the industry, ask our members what they need, what areas of support are they looking for. And so that's exactly what we did. And that's the reason we've constructed or put together the strategy the way that it is. So the 3 levels, the first level is to identify and reach out. And what that's all about is going out and asking our members, hey, how can we help? What do you need? And we did that, as I mentioned, through a survey. but also in just asking, just having conversations with as many of our members and also non-members, other industry partners and professionals as well, just to get a feel for, to put our finger on the pulse, if you like, to really understand it. I think it's a bit of a trap at times that we often think we know things. It's a bit Donald Rumsfeld-ish in many ways. We know what we know what we don't know, and we don't know what we don't know. And so this was all about finding out, what do our members really need? What does the industry really need at this point of time? And I've got to admit, we were thinking there'd be some interesting results out of that, with some things we were told that we hadn't seen. But that didn't actually happen. We pretty much got back what we thought we were going to. However, the weighting and the trends were really telling. So I'll get to those in just a second. Then, of course, we move on to the second phase of our strategy, which is shape and develop. And this is all about putting together our various strategies, our communication strategy, our education strategy, for example. And they have to be in line with that first phase, what we've heard, what we've been told. And now we're starting to move into phase number 3, which is recover and grow. And that's, of course, all about implementation. And you'll notice on the right-hand side there are some arrows, and that's so that we have a feedback loop. As I mentioned, it's important for us to be agile, to flex and tweak our strategy as we move on, to constantly have those conversations. And of course, if you do that, you've got to take time and really listen. So that's our strategy moving into 2021. But let me get a little bit more specific and share with you some of the findings from the survey that we did. Because although it was a nationwide survey, I think the results that came through, what we're seeing, are really, really important, especially in regional areas. So one of the questions we asked was, how optimistic were our members that 2021 would be a year of recovery? Now, this survey was conducted sort of mid-December, late December, and it was just before the Northern Beaches outbreak. In fact, I think we closed it off a day or two into the Northern Beaches outbreak. And in fact, about a week or so before that, we had the Mia Christmas party, which was in person. And the optimism and the vibe there was incredible, because people are just hankering, to start to meet, to have events once again. And so, no surprises, the survey revealed that people were pretty optimistic to very optimistic that 2021 would be a year of recovery. Now, look, I'm not a betting man, right? But if I was, I'd probably put money on that, right? Because 2020 was horrid. None of us saw it coming. It was a year that will go down in history. And I don't want to talk about it or go into it or vacillate on it too much, because we were all there. We all went through it. We understand the ramifications of it. And so, there's that air of optimism moving ahead. And look, there's still challenges ahead of us, absolutely, with border management. Even though we're New South Wales, that will impact us. So there are still challenges ahead. But as I said, I do believe there is some optimism, and there's certainly opportunities to be had as well. So this result, this graph would have been knocked around a bit in January, obviously, with the Northern Beaches, then with Brisbane, with Melbourne, but it's starting to come back. As I mentioned, we're starting to see more and more events take place. So this next slide, I think, is really important and really useful, because this is all about the areas that our members would like to see us address in order to support the industry. And there's a couple of really key trends and indicators, I think, on this particular question. Firstly, no surprise, what our members wanted to see, and of course there were non-members who took the survey as well, by the way, but what participants wanted to see was government support, advocacy to government. And me has always been very active in that area. We're part of BECA, which is an alliance of industry associations that advocates to government on a federal level. And of course, we work through state authorities and organizations as well. And the last couple of weeks, obviously, that has shifted quite a bit with the announcement of government of its tourism and aviation package, depending on where you are, of course, and what sub-area of the industry, that may or may not be of benefit. And so this is where I think the next two responses come into play. The first one, or the next one in line, was client confidence. And this is where about 54% of participants said they wanted to see support in building client confidence. And I think this is really, really key, because what this means is seeing evidence of live events taking place, to see evidence of things like, the Ironman, for example, starting to take place. And so this is where Mia can be very helpful in advocating events starting to take place within regional areas. And part of our strategy then is to share those stories, is to start creating confidence in people, not just attending events, but in holding events. The next area, which is worth looking at, is the green one, which is professional development. And 52% of participants said they wanted to see more support of professional development. And so this is all about best practice. And Mia, as an education organisation, with our main focus in the area of education, in educating, upskilling, and helping with best practice of events, because that in turn will then start to help with client confidence, and it will also elevate our voice, especially in regional areas. And again, it's one of the reasons that I'm very grateful to Destination New South Wales to allow that development to happen or to help that development to happen in regional areas. And as I said, by the way, our strategy needs to be quite agile. So, unfortunately, I couldn't be with you today, but I would love to hear back about what areas would be particularly helpful in the area of education. And then we can look at how we can address that. Because best practice is an area that really requires support, and also that client confidence. And I think they're two key areas that we need to address moving forward. This next slide kind of just backs that up, which is sort of nice. What do you need most from us, Mia, to recover? And again, you can see advocacy is right up and professional development is in there. That light blue line is all about keeping our members informed with the latest news and the latest updates, especially through COVID. That has been paramount. So this next slide is all about what areas of professional development in particular are our members wanting us to address. So what's interesting here is if you go back 5 years ago, there was a lot of interpersonal, intrapersonal development. For example, there was a lot of focus on such things as mindset or mindfulness. And not that that's less important now, but what we can see here is that people really want education in the areas of event operations and business operations. In fact, sales and marketing has come right up there as well. And that just supports the whole idea of we need to be advocates of best practice. So what does all that actually mean? Well, when you work through the data, and by the way, that was just a very brief snapshot that I gave you. So if you would like some more detail on the results, please get in touch. I'm more than happy to share them. But in essence, working through all of that, there are three key areas that we believe Mia can be of value in supporting industry, and particularly in regional areas. The first one is advocacy. And as I said earlier, we're now adding to that advocacy of best practice, to really create that confidence, which is the other area we need to be advocates in, is client confidence, market confidence in attending events and in holding events, because we have the best practice. Education obviously is a key part of that. Of course, we do have our diploma of event management, but we also run a whole range of professional development programs. We're moving into roundtables, forums, all sorts of different methods of education to help out industry. And again, I would love to hear from you as to how we can help, and we'll do our utmost to help in any way that we can. And the final one was, of course, relevant communication. And this is all about keeping our members informed of the latest news, the latest updates, but also, we should probably change the word communication to conversation, because it's about having continuous conversations, two-way conversations, to make sure we're getting it right, to make sure we're hearing what is needed in the different areas, in different regions, even within New South Wales. And of course, if you do have those conversations, you've got to be brave enough to stand back and listen. So that was a very quick snapshot, which contained quite a bit of information. I think the key message is, as we move into 2021, there's still going to be challenges ahead of us. But at the same time, there are going to be great opportunities, especially within regional areas of New South Wales. And it's really heartening, once again, to start seeing momentum of live in-person events taking place more consistently than they were in previous months. So I guess Mia's role is to help out there through the education, through best practice, but also just keeping in touch in any way that we can to help us move forward and really grasp and leverage 2021. So again, thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful being here, if only virtually. And I hope we get to talk very, very soon. Cheers.